Welcome everybody on Facebook, and I'm John. No costume today because it's quite warm, and I'm going to head down to the cellars now to look for the tunnel and then come back outside in the sunlight. It's quite windy out there, so just look out for that. So we're going to go down the cellars now, so I'm going to turn the camera around. Okay, so we're going down the cellar. It's exciting, isn't it? Eh? Down the cellar. Ooh. Back groaning. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Into there. The automatic lights come on. That's always good. Oh. Oh. Right, there's my cellar, full of all the nuclear food bunker. Some horrible bloody things down here, including some horrible bits of sauerkraut that have been stuffed there for years. What that is, I don't want to think. So it's a bit of a scruffy old place. So we're going to go down to the cellar. And if you look, here's the portal. This is what I discovered in the 1970s when I came here, 1978. I'm going to go down the cellar, and I think the naughty cat came with me. Maybe go on there, cat. Wait, cat, what are you doing? Meow. What are you after? Meow. There's my sword from when I was doing sword play years ago. Ooh. Right, so who's going to join me? Spooky cellar. There we go. Come on, lights up. There we go. Ooh. As you can see, my crappy wine store. All the bottles are rotten beyond belief because it's so damp down here. Well, there you go. That's been pretty boring. You probably think nothing's going on there. I've got no signal down there typically, so we're going to have to go back upstairs, back to the outside world. But if you've been watching my videos, you'll know that there's lots going on around here. Right, there we go. Nice bit of sunshine. Whoa. Cat's now trapped in the cellar, so he'll be here when I get back. Oh. Just give you a bit of bearings. There is a vent to the tunnel down here. If you look down here, you can see the hole of the ground there. That's where the tunnel was blocked up. Hi, Pauline. And there's a little garden. See what that little white table is, the smaller one, the square one? That's the entrance to the tunnel, and it bears round and comes back down here. We think it goes to the church, we don't know for sure. So hopefully later on this year we're going to pump it out and have a look. So we're going to continue down here towards the mint. Now the mint is so called because allegedly it's where they planted mint herbs, take away the stench of rotting flesh from the Leper hospital at the bottom of the mint at St Nicholas's. It's now an unmade road, and it's a real bugger to get up and down for lorries, etc. So we're going to come on down here. I know it's pretty boring, but nobody's watching now, just me and thee. But look, next door here we've got Claverings, which is a fine Regency house built for a general who had troops in the local regiment and the Royal Artillery who were based here, and he used to ride down there. His stables, we're not quite sure where they're gone now, but it's got an extension on the side of it, you can see there. Although a little later on, as you can see, it's a different sort of material. And then next door are the other people who used to work in the garden, so gardeners' cottages alongside. Quite a big garden, stretched down the hill to the other side. And if we look across this way, we're going to our right now. You can see St Michael's and All Angels Church, and it's actually much older than it looks from the outside. This new bell tower was put on in about 1850, and extends the old church which was there from 1174. So it's just soon after Thomas Becket was made a saint in 1172, and pilgrims coming up that steep hill would want to stop and leave their mark. So we're going to come down the hill now slightly. Again, we've got Clavering cottages on our left, and it's not snowing today, at least. That was the last time I was coming down here. And quite pretty little Clavering cottages. Looking out, we can see the church tower of St Nicholas down the hill. And then we've got Fairview over here, which is was owned by the nurse from Vernon Home School until she retired. She's going to live here. That's Mrs. I can't remember her name now. Margaret Wilson, that's it. And then the other side we've got the lean-to houses and cottages of the properties down there. You can see the 17th century cottages down there, and that's the end of their gardens up here, so that's their garden sheds. It's As you can see from the surface of the road beneath it, it's just clinker, just nothing special. This is supposedly the Pilgrim's Way, although looking at other maps, the Pilgrim's Way actually went through the bottom of a hospital farm, down the side of the property where Alex White lives, that way down Michael White's property. And I've got to sort of reach my camera over the hedge here so you can see over to the what were hop fields and now apple orchards, stretched out in very neat concessions. And up at the very top of the picture is Bigbury, which is where the Neolithic fort was. Now, when Julius Caesar came to England in 49 BC, he didn't come as far as here. We're not quite sure. There's a suggestion that he camped up in what we now call Upper Harbledown in Church Woods, and whether he fought the Cantiaci, it's not quite clear. But this is one of the Cantiaci forts, Bigbury. Now, the 17th century or 18th century cottages you see along here, you can see the roof pitches up and down. Hi, Linda. Nice to see you. And then you have 5 watchers now. Nice smell of, smells like wood smoke. I hope it's nothing nasty there. And as we look to this side over here, we can see the last cottage on the Mint. So this is number 1, the Mint. And these were added on when I first came down here. There was no internal toilets down here. You see the old outside lavvy. And then looking the other way down the front of the 18th century cottages, you can see another nice view down there. If we look closely at the walls here, you'll notice graffiti. I know graffiti nowadays is rather nasty, but this is older graffiti. You can see the letters AH there quite clearly. And there's some more graffiti as we come down here. We'll try and point it out to you. Luckily it's working this time, because last time I was doing this, oh, there you go. CR, I can see CR, there you go. So just clearly. And I'm assuming that this is carved by people travelling up the road, when it was a road. And these are marks. These aren't pilgrim marks, but pilgrims often used to leave marks like this. These styluses of boys going to school at the school at the bottom of the hill, they would have sharpened their styluses on the brickwork here. So these downward strikes are schoolboys. And here, TMH, how many hundreds of years he marked his mark out there. And as you come down here, there's always more stylus marks here. So as we come right down the far end, I think there is some more dates here. 1746, if you look in there, clearly 1746. So yeah, this is proper, tangible history. And looking back up the Mint, okay, Linda. Looking back up the Mint, you can see what a narrow little kind of track it is. Nothing really that special. But this is supposedly where the pilgrims go. And I'm going to come back down here, slightly whisky zoom, down to Well Cottage, which is obviously here because there was a well underneath it. Looking at the pitch of the roof above there, you can see how tightly pitched those roofs are. That suggests pre-1780s, because the pitch of the roof, although it's been re-rendered at some point, you see the newer bricks above, the dimensions of the roof, they weren't using Pythagoras' theorem to create roof pitches. They were just using what available wood they had and whatever joints there were available. So it's quite a pretty view out there. They're going to continue down here towards the end of the Mint, and I'm not rushing, I'm just trying to be sort of efficient in case somebody's saying, oh, you're running a bit fast. Here's the Well House, they call it, and that's inhabited by the Pepper family, or what's left of them. And the husband's helps people with their motorcycles riding. And you can see again there, just looking over the wall there, you can see the old privy at the end there. And this structure here, the slightly greyer bricks, are the remains of the air raid shelter, which was here until the 1940s, and over there the other side of it. But long gone. I don't know how many people would have waited in here, but it would have been a pretty miserable place to wait for the end of the world. And looking down the other side, we've got a nice view over Hospital Farm. Again, this used to be, well, when I first came, it was apple orchards, and they grubbed up all the apple orchards and replanted all these new apple trees, very neat lines. You can see a couple of people doing the stringing even now out there in the middle. And down the far side, you can just about see the cars going past on the Harbledown bypass, going through, the trucks going through there. All essential journeys, I'm sure. And then we're going to go make our way into towards St Nicholas's Church. That, by the way, over there is supposedly where the tunnel that I have in my house leads to. I know it cut out the first bit, but this is the old bakery. and there was just some rumour that went around that the tunnel was linked to the bakery. It really doesn't make any sense. Why would you build a tunnel that big to a bakery to transport a few loads of bread? Doesn't make any sense, personally. So let's see what we discover later on in the year when we investigate the tunnel. So we're going to come through the church and through here. So lovely spray of little pink flowers there, aconites or little crocuses coming through. Lovely view there, isn't it? Looking over through the orchards. Lovely, eh? Spring is coming, clearly. Now the yew trees in this churchyard have been pollarded quite severely. This one over here is one of the oldest. If you look at the foot down here, you can see two gravestones that are wedged in between one of the branches of the yew tree. If you look down here, can you see there? Two gravestones in there. And the dates there are about 1915, so it's grown over since that time. So in 100 years, it's grown through. And I'm going to try and get through into the middle of it, just so you can see the middle of the trunk of this thing. It's a beautiful thing. I'm going to go through here as well as you can. Ooh. As you look through here, it's a very beautiful thing. I don't know if it's one of the oldest yew trees, it's just an old yew tree. But you can see quite clearly it's all hollowed out over time. And how many memories are in there? How many loved ones met here and said we betrothed their love to one another? And that's probably why yew trees are always regarded as kind of a holy tree by the pagan religion. You can see there has been some chopping here in the past. Can't tell what age that is there. It's obviously been chopped around with at some point. But you can probably hear the wind. It's jolly windy here. I'm going to go back out through the tree, back out the outside world, but back towards the back of St Nicholas. Now, it's possible the tunnel comes down here. That makes more sense to me because it's just lovely view, isn't it? This old church has been here since 1084, which is just soon after the Norman Conquest, and the tunnel's certainly not that old. Look over there, some lovely crocuses coming through again there. They've really sprouted out in the last couple of days, but the sunshine brings everybody happy. We're going to come round here just slightly to the one side. As I found some years ago, this rather weird carving on the side of the church wall here, and although the wind is very strong, you can barely hear me, I can barely hear myself. You can see over here, come round here, see these rather strange shapes. Now this shape here is a sundial basically, and a stick was placed inside there, and on a clear sunny day before these trees were all here, they used to use the sundial to tell the time. There's one further down there below, and it's quite possible the clergyman would just come out here for a clay pipe maybe. They would watch the sun move around the sundial, tell them when it was time to go back inside, or maybe it's even earlier. It could be pilgrim markings, but it looks almost too neat and tidy there to be a pilgrim's marker. Certainly a carved out circle there, and the northeast southwest directions where the sun would glint across here. So you can see the sun rises just over there by the old almshouses down here. They're built in the 1830s, and this still used by some of the local villagers. Again, we've got some lovely little snowdrops coming through there, and the little graveyard here, at least that little plot over here, are for all the local people who passed away. So they're buried here within the compound of the church. We're going to go just back out to the outside, or the other side over here, to the little footpath. Keep to the grass. We don't want to get nasty footprints in the grass. And as we come through here, we can see these lovely crocuses again sprouting up through. It's nice that they come back every year to remind us of their existence, and very pretty, aren't they? But I think they look better in the ground than they do in somebody's buttonhole. So I'm sure people have been nicking them later on. Well, that's how they're supposed to look. If you look at the church wall, you can see it's actually built of clinker. It's what's called local Kentish ragstone. The ragstone itself is this stuff on the corner here, which is a very rough looking cut, and then it's been faced with this stuff here, which is called knapped flint. If you're looking closely though, you can see some tessellated Roman tile down here, look below there. See the little orangey bits? That's tessellated Roman tile. So recycled Roman tile. There might have been a villa around here, and when they were building, they just used bits of the old villa. There are some nice little daffs along the side here as well. But looking across over there, we've got more of the almshouses, and then you can just about see, if you look through the leftmost chimney pot in front of me, just behind there is Hall Place, which is owned by a local dignitary. and we'll see Hall Place cottages we go down past later on. And the Finn family owned that for a little while. When I came in the 1970s, it was owned by Jennings Printers, if you remember them, and they used to do diaries and calendars. Now looking at the tower above us here, it's a Saxon square tower church, but if it was built by the Normans then it can't be Saxon, but it's quite possible that the builders were actually Saxons enslaved by the Normans to build their church tower. And again here was a more tessellated Roman tile here. So that quite clear line, that sort of demarcation line, so it's a recycled tile. So it's not Kent peg or anything like that, it's much earlier. But there are, as you see, there have been some later brick insertions there just to make it all look right. It might well have fallen away at some point. So as we continue down here, we're going to go to the front of the church just to get a view of from the front door. Notice that the church is on a bit of a slant, and that's because it was designed that way to allow the flesh of the lepers to be washed through at the end of services. So as we come down here, we'll look up at it again from another angle. See, it's on quite a steep incline. Just look up the church tower above us now. You can see what a lovely church tall tower it was. In the 50s and 60s, it was covered in ivy, and it was only recently cleared. So it was pretty well left to its own devices. As we come round the corner here slightly, we have to just to our left now, in case get seasick watching me walk around, and we can see here the old Norman arch doorway with a very nice filigree sort of star markings above there. It's very pretty, isn't it? And this of course is cornerstone from Normandy. It's much softer, and when it's carved you can actually carve it so it's really smooth and clean. There has been some damage here, though. You can see it's coming off slightly in bits and pieces here. I was going to look back over at the almshouses along to see it. So there's the almshouses, a little panorama around to see the almshouses, and it's very pretty down here. You probably see there's a bit of fence missing, which has broken away over time. That'll have to be replaced. I think the fence has been here for quite some time. Maybe it was in the 60s or 70s. But I always remember walking up here and thinking, at least we're on the way home now. But look down here, you can see a big scrape. People don't know what this is, and this reminds us that it must have been here when the roads were not properly metal, and the people who walked here would have possibly walked through muddy paths to get here. So a boot scraper there from the 19th century, probably earlier. And the door itself has a very interesting C-clasp hinge on it. I have been inside it several times, and I'll do further videos about the church and how it looks inside. Again, we'll see if we can see from an angle the tilt of the church. We're going to come down the pathway. It's a lot less treacherous than it was the other day that I came down here when I gave you that rather weird audio tour, because I couldn't get any signal down here. But as we come down here, we're coming under an old Scots pine which has fallen over at some point. I saw a photograph some years ago from the 1940s of the Scots pine. It was just a sapling, and so between the 1940s and present day it's fallen over, and rather than chopping it down they let it grow. I always thought it was a yew tree, but when I look closely, of course, it is a Scots pine. It makes a very nice way through, but of course the health and safety police will come down and put a big yellow sign across here to stop people banging their heads on it. And it's very well maintained, the grass is around here. And as we step down these little steps, you come into the vestry, this is the refectory, where they used to have their communal meals when it was an almshouse. There's still an almshouse now, but the little cells, you see the little rooms here, were originally one cell per person. Cell not in the prison sense, but monastic sense. That's a very pretty view. You can see again looking up to the main church there. But you can quite clearly see the angle at which the pathway leans up. Whether or not that was used to flush the stuff away, it's not quite clear. But we're very lucky with the weather.
Yes. I left you a message on your phone. Oh, thank you. It's all right. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I do.
I'm the proud possessor of the new battery.
As we come through here, you can see the lovely crocuses again. We're very lucky with the weather today, and that's why I'm glad I've done this today rather than another day. Who knows? There's the tower again. It's quite clear. I mean, it's difficult to show the angle from here, but one point in the future we'll go inside the church and have a look. Lovely crocuses there again, and daffodils over here as well. They're very sweet, aren't they? The bumblebees bubbling around. Just over here, we're going to try and get as close as we can to the old hospital wall. Look down over there. Can you see the slightly lighter material. That's the original hospital wall, and the hospital was no more than a lean-to, literally this wall with a roof over it, over the elements where the lepers were left to be protected from the outside world. So the leper hospital really wasn't, you mentioned sort of loads of nurses running around, it was just simply a lean-to. And over here we have the chantry house, which you'll see from another angle later on. This chantry house has a lovely old gas lamp on it. Well, that's long been electrified, and there's one of those things to restart your heart should it go wrong in here as well, just in case you rover this way. A defibrillator, AED armour, get out the outside world the other side. And we're going to continue down the other way, down back through the old Scots Pine, and then down to the Black Prince as well, and into Hospital Farm. So it's a very pretty view over here. I always wonder what it's like to live in these little places. Probably not that much fun, but at least they're warm. And when they in the 1970s merged two cells into one, it gave people a proper sitting room and a bathroom as well, so it did make it a bit more comfortable to live in. Almshouses are traditionally designed for people who are of impoverished means, and the church looks after them. This almshouse is owned by St John's at Northgate as well, and they work together, so you could get kicked out of here and go down to St John's, or vice versa. I don't think it would kick everybody else out. As we come through here, more little crocuses, and look out again at the church. Morning, Jules. The bell tower still rings its bell every day for church services. We come down here. Always nice, pretty views up here though. Very well kept, this whole churchyard. And then going to come down towards. I think I sneeze. A bit cold here. We're going to come down towards the Black Prince as well. And when I first came here, the only way to the Black Prince as well was through the back gardens of the almshouses, through what looked like allotments, where the residents used to do their shop, their gardening. The house next door to me, Claverings, and again the church here. So, although I was mentioning about the lean-to, you can't really see it. It looks quite square and true, certainly not leaning away in any way. So forgive my confusion there. But it is certainly it's tilted inside, just down there between the trees. You can just see there, between those trees, you can just see the roof of that's Hopeborn House, that's owned by the Finn family. Again, that was a private residence. And the Finns have been here for a long time. Finns used to own a toy shop in St Margaret Street called Finn Stores, which is now C&H Fabrics. Waterstones, and before that was Martin's. And then next door, which is where Superdry is now, that was Finn Stores as well. If you ever get a chance to walk down St Margaret Street, around the back of the Yorkshire Building Society, if you look up, you can see the hoists used to hoist goods up into the upper chambers. And then also there were ladderways in between the two buildings, between the side of Yorkshire Building Society, which is part of Finn Stores, and the side of what became Lipton's, if you remember Lipton's. And there are deep cellars beneath for storing goods, for dry goods possibly as well. So Finn Stores, it's the same family that lived here in Harbledown. He's still around, Arthur Finn, local landowner. He owns Hospital Farm, but he leases it out to a third party, and that's what we see before us now. Just to one side there, you'll see the estate on the top of the hill, and then to one side, if you look slightly to your left, you see a slightly green patch, and that's Golden Hill. That's so called because the Romans planted corn there, and supposedly golden ears of corn made it Golden Hill. A lot of people thought there was really gold there, but at the very top up there would have been the old mill on the Mint, which was pulled down about 1900. Got a few images of that to show somebody at any point in the future. If we look back round the other way, we can see again Bigbury up on the hill, and down here we've got the old Oast House, which is snuggled down here, being converted into private residence. And a very lovely bank of flowers down here. Daffodils sprouting nicely. It's not even March yet, but still very lucky with the weather, considering how bloody cold it's been recently. And as we continue down here, I mean, I'm very pleased that 7 people are watching, considering what short notice I gave everybody. So this is it's the bank. It's quite sweet, really. Well worth popping into Harbledown. They certainly don't like you parking in this car park here, by the way. So if you are coming up here, don't park in the car park. You'll get a nasty note on your windscreen. You won't get a ticket, but they get a bit funny about it. Again, as we look up there, you can see there's quite a new extension at the back of it. That's That's where they put the extensions on to give a bit more space for the people living in the tiny almshouse at the back. Now the daffodils were damaged recently by children on sleds coming down this little steep bank here, but they managed to recover. A few little snowdrops coming through there, or are they Canterbury bells? I can never tell the difference. These little white things on the corner. I used to call them aconites, but they're probably different too. As you come down here, we're going to come towards the Black Prince as well, which is supposedly where Edward of Woodstock came to bathe his eyes after the battles at Cressy. We know that during the end of his life he was suffering from terrible sickness, sort of gut sickness, and whether or not the water really did save his life, it's unclear. But when we look at the Black Prince as well, you'll see the 3 white feathers above, which signify that the prince was here. But if you look at the piece of stone, you probably think, well, that's clearly Victorian, and maybe it is, but it's a nice idea that the Black Prince was here. Again, we've got these lovely daffodils coming through here. Last time I came down here, it was a year ago probably, to film. It was all very cold and wet, so I'm going to try and make my way up this little bank here because I don't want to slip over and drop the camera looking like an idiot. That's something I usually do. So I'll go to the narrowest bit down here. Look over here, there's the Black Prince as well, there, nestling in the hill. It's for some reason not very well marked by anything on a map, so when you come up here, just to take time, come down here. Now you can see the water is quite deep today because of all the rain we've been having. Look down there, you can see it actually overcomes the last 2 steps. Now I'm not going to go down there to sample the water, but the stone steps are quite solid, and the wall at the back is listed as a Grade 1 listed building, so that is possibly original. And if you look at the very bottom down there, you can just about see the red bricks where they lined the well. The water itself comes out in a little trickle from the gap between where the bricks are. You see there's a Santiago de Compostela shell just on the ledge there, and well, that's placed there for that reason, we don't know. But it's very clear water. When you have a chance in the summertime to come down here, try the water out. It's very neat and tidy. And I often think that we should, well, no, we're not allowed to, but it'd be nice to get some flowers planted around here just to make it look a bit more fun. There is a bit of planting going on around there. And the idea was that in the summertime, whenever all this misery ends, that we all get together and do a well dressing, possibly just of the 3 white feathers, not maybe here, but somewhere in the village, just to commemorate our bit of national treasure. The property is actually owned by the Cathedral of Canterbury. It's part of the auspices of the Archbishop, so we'd need permission from him. And the idea was simply to have what I call an American supper, where you each bring a plate of food and then share that food around. So there's always, not feeding the 5,000, but quite a lot of people coming through. So there's lovely daffodils blowing in the wind. And we're going to come back out here, and as you come down that little bank, again, I'm going to try and not slip and fall if I can try and help it. Might be a bit safer down this end here. Oh, big fat old thing that I am. Oh, right. So as we come down here, we're coming through the sort of edge bit of... Hi, Faye, sorry. Your fairy garden is there, is it? My apologies. Certainly is a well-kept secret, yeah. Well, if you look through here, you can see the overflow of the meadow juice, as we call it. And this is the little river that trickles down through Harbledown. And this is supposedly the same water that feeds our well. But if you look through there, nice bit of quality plastic pipe. If you look directly above there, you can see what is called Keeper's Croft, new development. That's where the well used to rise up there as well. Well, thanks very much, Julie, wherever you are. And if you look down here, you can see a very pretty view. Well, not pretty view, but this little garden they planted some nice daffs, so they'll come out nicely. And looks like Japanese cherry hiding there as well. So they've made it look really nice. I don't know who actually owns this property, but looking down the other way, we've got Hospital Farm. We'll take a walk through into Hospital Farm. It's again private land again now. The oast houses have been converted into private residences, and we can see these lovely apple boxes, which was a sign to me of a good bit of proper architecture going on, or rather agriculture, not architecture. You can probably listen to me think he's just making it up as he goes along. Not much comedy in this tour, is there? Just you and me. Anyway, it's nice to be able to show people around. I'm very proud of my little village. Just honoured that Dad managed to secure a place to live here all those years ago. I think he was just looking for anywhere that could hold his family. He wasn't really looking for one particular place. It was owned by a man called Chris Calcutt, who ran a company or a little estate agent called Calcutt McLean, which then became Calcutt McLean. What did it become? It became not Clutton's, the other one, the one that's in St Margaret Street, the expensive one. Anyway, he worked for them, and he moved over several houses over time, doing them up. Our one was the first, but it must have been a pretty miserable place to live. As far as I know, it was originally owned by a woman called Miss Salmon, who died in the 1950s, and then another person took it over, and then in the 1970s Chris Calcutt took it over. So looking around us here, we can see sort of panorama of the village. I'm sure anybody who's walked around here knows this pretty well. Hi Simon, quality stuff, thanks very much. Clear picture, yeah, nice. There's Linda Thornton still watching, bless you for sticking on there. We're going to come back down towards the main drag, as it were. It's certainly not like Clitheroe in Lancashire, where old Simon Hippisley comes from, fellow ghost hunter. As we make up way here, well, the sort of little cut comes down that way towards the River Stour eventually. And if you walk behind me where I'm going, you can walk into Canterbury down what's called Whitehall Bridge Road, pass down the old Whitehall Tavern, which is owned by Rory Kehoe. And Rory Kehoe has a huge archive of photographs of the city, and he's a very fit young man. Well, not so much young anymore, but I often see him jogging through the village. And we see this young lady here who lives up in Keeper's Cross with her dogs and stuff. She's going for a long walk, very healthy. All right. Yeah, lovely. Make the most of it. Are they taking you for a walk, or is it the other way around? Are they taking you for a walk, are they? Okay, have a good journey. All right, cheers. So we're going to change hands, just so my hands get a bit tired. And just as we come down here, we can come to the sort of edge of the village, this end of it, to directly opposite over there at the end. You see there's a slightly low slung, looks like a bungalow. That's Hall Place gatehouse. And although the road bisected the old driveway, that was the main way into the great house. And there would have been a gatehouse keeper there originally. And as we come up here, we'll see the other edge of Hopebourne, which is quite fascinating, really. It's a lovely old house. It's listed as well. The wall, you can see here. You see the edge of the wall here? Now, I'm wondering if maybe my tunnel leads to Hopebourne. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Nice smuggling tunnel to Hopebourne, under the river. Well, I don't know, it's all very suspicious, isn't it? But maybe Hopebourne was used as a smuggling base, and they smuggled humans and contraband and everything through the tunnels. It does seem an awful lot of money to spend just to do a bit of that. So we're coming around this low wall here, and just on the far side over there you can see where there's a break in the wall, and there's a gate, and then further on behind that tree there's another gate there. So that was the way the coaches used to come in to pick up and drop off for Hopebourne. Then the other side of the road over there, which just says the lodge now, that was a gatehouse to Hall Place. Now, as you can see, people bertling through this village as quick as they can, because it's vitally important journeys. They do slow down very well when they see a camera. There we go, say LRB. Now, just opposite there on the corner, which is called Hall Place Cottages, possibly for the staff of Hall Place, nobody's really quite sure. There was a suggestion there had been a post office here. There's still a post box over there, but that's new. It's Elizabeth 2, so let's cross over, although not that new. We're going to cross over here. If you look from the front, you can see a bricked-in doorway. It's possible it was converted to a post office a little while, but I just thought the post office is further up. If you look here, you can see the bricked-in doorway here. It goes right the way down. So it's been bricked in more recently. And looking back the other way, you get a nice view of the barn, the tithe barn. Tithe barns, by the way, in case you know about them, they have a big door and a little door, and a tithe was 10% of your wealth given to the church every month, and you would drive into the tithe barn through the big door with all your goods, and you would disconnect your horse and cart, and then you would walk out with your horse through the small door. That's why I have a big door and a small door. Tithe, 10% of your wealth, still used in certain churches, and a collection place is added on to that. And if you look over there the other way, you can just see what we locally call the hacienda, which is Michael White's property. Got very nice views over the valley. And then going back this way, coming up the main drag, we're coming up to where the little orange car is. Well, maybe it's not orange, sort of light red. Going colourblind. But the on that corner used to be called Coffin Corner because the amount of accidents used to turn around. Here's a man in the know, wearing his mask safely. He stopped smoking now because he used to smoke cigars, didn't he?
Yeah.
When did you stop smoking cigars? 2016. Oh, well, good for you. You're still here to tell the tale.
March 2016.
You remember the exact date, probably, don't you? How many hours it is? I'm just having a little walk around the village with my camera to reminisce about. Well, it might.
You're still doing that, John, are you?
I'll carry on regardless. You know, I've got no customers. I've got no income. So if I could do this and then just sort of walk around and tell people about it, just keep myself relatively sane.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying. Well, yeah, I'm hoping that with the sunshine we all feel a bit better anyway, don't we?
Yeah.
Little sprouty, your primroses are coming out there in your window box. Is this thing coming out yet, or you just been pruning this one? Have you?
I cut it back yesterday.
All right.
And it needs coming back a bit more, and I was just inspecting it.
Yeah.
It needs coming down a little more.
Yeah. Taking down a peg or two. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. How's Mother?
Mad as a box of frogs, as usual.
Lovely.
Nothing changes.
No change there then?
She had a slight fall the other day because she consumed half a bottle of whiskey. That affected her balance, and yeah, she's years of training, you know. And I couldn't get her up because I couldn't physically get her up, so I had to get my next door neighbour in. But she managed to get up, and then she swore at me and my next door neighbour for interrupting her. Who the f*** are you? And I said, well, I'm terribly sorry, I'm trying to help you up. And I said, we could just leave her there. She said, we just leave her there. But she'd bent her leg back on herself, so it could have been quite painful if we left her to sleep it off there. So we got her up onto the settee, and she snored and farted her way through the night. And then and the next morning, didn't apologise because obviously it wasn't her, it was somebody else. So nothing changes. She'll be telling naughty stories about my mum. I'll miss her when she's gone. She's making my life a living hell while she's here. But it's very sad to see Eleanor's house still in a derelict state, isn't it? It's awful. Well, it's owned by the girl who owns the loft. Louise, no, her name Louise. No, her name's. God, I've been out of work so long. Well, she owns a place called the Loft and a place called the Privy, and a few other properties around here. But as far as I know, and I'm sure somebody will come back to me on this, she took it on with all the intentions of refurbishing it, but she stripped it out completely. And then the planning department said, well, it's a listed building, grade 1 listed, so where's all the timber? She said, well, I burnt that at the skip. So she's burnt all the 17th century timber, and now it is a shell, and she has to replace it with original timbers, which of course she's not going to do, because she told her solicitor that they didn't know what they were talking about when he said, you really shouldn't have done that. And she just ignored it. So it's been empty ever since, because she's not going to spend any money on it, which is sad, really. I mean, it won't fall down, hopefully. She's repointed it all. She's even got a new TV area up there for anybody who can pick up non-terrestrial television services. It's very sad, though, because I remember Eleanor's house as being always a lovely, cosy little place with that Arga just inside the front door. And always a pot of coffee on, and always a good chat. And slapping her thigh going, on another thing. But I don't know, poor old Kimball probably well, I think he was offered the chance of taking it, or he didn't want it. And Simon Hughes, who thought he was going to inherit it, he didn't get it either. So it's rather sad, really. And as far as I know, Cambridge is working up in Scotland, doing whiskey tours, where he was, I think he's doing now. But Dungo, he was up by the up to the nursery way. Yeah. Well, we're going to head off. I've done my weekly exercise.
Good.
So we need nice to see, don't it? I would shake your hands, but what about an elbow?
No.
Elbow? God bless you, mate.
Yes,
All right,
Andrew.
stay safe.
Nice to see you.
Chin chin.
Take care.
All right, mate. And you?
You ought to really go about have a mask on.
Well, I've got one of his. Oh, fuck, I haven't.
No bloody good in your pocket.
Well, I thought the outside world we were okay.
No, you still, yeah, but you never know, John.
All right,
Bump
good
into
point.
Somebody like me, the village idiot.
Oh, sorry. Right, there you go then.
Like this couple walking past, you have to be so careful.
Yeah. Right, there we go.
And who's going to look after Mother, you see?
True. All right. Mask on. See you later. Right. Yeah. He was right there. I got my mask in my pocket for those people still watching. At least I'm sociable there, talking to people in the village. I do feel a bit sad sometimes that there's all these people living here and I don't really know them at all. But, well, that's life, I suppose. And more so with bloody COVID. looking on each other, looking after each other. So we're coming up here to Coffin Corner. Everybody's still watching. Still there, Linda, are you? Probably put it on mute, haven't you? So you can't hear my dulcet tones. This is Pear Tree Cottage. This was a pub for many years. And if you look here in the middle, you can see the old entranceway. Do you see the archway there? I feel stuck with a queue again. There's the archway, and then that basically was the old way in, and it was bricked into somewhere. These, when I came here, were the farm workers' cottages for Flynn's farm, and Neil Blakemore, if he's watching this, will remember his cottage here, and his mum and everybody. And next door, if you remember seeing that film called The Family, this is where it was filmed. Again, the Hughes family had the film crew in here. In fact, they stayed, the film crew, next door in the cottage. So they took over Pear Tree Cottage for a long time. It's called Cumberland Cottage. Might also have been a pub. There's lots of things around here called the Duke, or Duke Cottage, because Duke House over here was a pub called the Duke. We had about 4 pubs in this little village, because people coming around here would need to stop on the way up the hill. Not for anybody knackered even working half an hour. But if you look up there, you can see this is Duke House. The weatherboarding was added on the Regency period to make it look less brick-like, because brick tax was levied on all properties that could show brick. And here we have the school cottages. If you look to one side, that's the girls' entranceway. In the middle bit is where the heating element was. The far end was the headmaster's house. On the far side over there, with the other archway door, was the boys' entrance. So they'd be educated separately. And we know quite a lot of people who are educated here, still around all over the world. Looking down that road, it's hard to imagine that in the 1970s this was the main road from London to Dover. Seems incredible, doesn't it? Well, let's continue down here past the abandoned Christmas trees, and just behind this yew tree hedge here, we find another little gem, which is the phone box. It's actually got a phone in it, and the phone works. So if you ever find yourself without a mobile phone signal, this is the place. And somebody's kindly picked out the little gold leaf on the top up there, the crown. So makes you proud. Is that British telecom? I guess it might be. Not many of these left. And then we saved it when they came to take it away. And Eleanor, who used to live over here, we're talking to, she used to put books and flowers in here. And when she had a fence here, because there used to be a fence here, you put a sign up saying this is not a dog's toilet, because people used to leave their doings on the pathway here. It's so sad to look at Eleanor's cottage now, how it used to be and how it is now. I remember standing just about here, or where we stand, there was a punch bowl here in 1981 on the wedding of Lady Diana and Prince Charles. I was about 16, I think, and first time I got really drunk, Kimball managed to put a bit of brandy, rum and sherry in the punch, which was supposed to be just fruit punch, and I downed a lot of it and was so violently ill I went back over there, up through that gateway there, which was then the Franciscan friary, and was violently ill all over their stairs. I was so embarrassed. And the next morning Dad told me, or reminded me, that I should go back and clean up, which I did. They cleaned it up, but I spent the day scrubbing the stairs as an apology. But it did teach me one thing, not to drink too much. Still try to steer clear of the devil booze, especially rum and brandy together. So we're going to continue up the old stairwell here. Looking up here, we have Wyvern cottages up here. These were built more recently, in the 1930s. This little one here was for many years owned by a teacher, and we're going to continue up here. If you'll notice how the road sort of sweeps round in a funny way, where that wall coming up, sticking up just past the wheelie bin, that was the way up the hill before they put the new pathway in we stand on now. Because in the middle of the pathway, where it sort of bows out slightly, there was a tree, and the tree was blocking the pathway, so you used to go up round the side. I can see from here, you go up there and then come down the other side over here, and that was the way past the tree for pedestrians, and the road was as we see before us. Looking over there, we can see this hole, supposedly where the lepers would come to give Beckett's buckle in a sort of net for pilgrims to kiss. But since the pilgrimages ended in 1538, I can't imagine why it's still there in 1660. This property was rebuilt several times. If we look at the wall up there, we can see the date. It says 1685 or something like that. Look up there. You see it up there on the plaque? Maybe difficult to read, might have to zoom in a bit. But that is 1685. So after the restoration of the monarchy in 1660, it was rebuilt. It's quite possible there's something here before, but 1685, that's a real thing. And whether those steps come down originally to that level, or if the road level was slightly higher, it's not really clear. Because if you look at these cottages, Seacombe cottages, built by the family that owned the Seacombe Villa at the bottom of the road, which is now called Lawrence House, which is now Farrell Insurance, or Assurance. They built this as a speculative development so they could get an income from it. And just up here above we've got Harbledown Terrace. Not sure of the age of that, but looking at the construction, talking early Victorian or possibly Regency, little tiny cottages, possibly for farm workers or people working in Canterbury. And we think the road was cut out from the level that we walk on now to a slightly lower level to allow the new horses and carts come up the hill slightly better. Swapping hands again there. And I've seen images of this bit, and just as we're coming up to what is now the car park of the pub, or was a car park, and now the sort of beer garden, there was a row of 3 terrace cottages up here. And when there was a suggestion of building 3 terrace cottages up here recently, everybody was up in arms. But this is where they were, and they wouldn't have gardens, but of course they weren't designed for people with gardens. If you look up there, it's on the edge of the pub. You can see, see the pitch of the roof of where the old buildings used to be. They're quite high pitched, quite a small property, so they were all abutted on. Whether that window at the back would have actually looked out, not quite clear. Amazing, isn't it? Such a busy road we have here. Tell me to get out of the way. Amazing. What a world. So looking up the hill there, they've been doing a lot of work up in the pub. Hopefully they'll be able to open soon. I feel so sorry for them, poor sods. All the work they did to try and get it working. And now we can see up here, there's steps up here to the Mint, because the Mint is on the old road level up there, and we're on now was cut out at around 1900. I mean, the pub was down here, so presumably they would have already had something going on down there. But you see where the people are walking up the hill, that's the old road level, cut out around 1887, we think, to make the road slightly more navigable for horses and carts, because before then they'd have to stop to change horses at some point, either down here or up there. And this, when I first came here, although it's now a pub, there's a sweet shop in the corner here, and the entrance to the sweet shop, there's a little bit of graffiti down here somewhere as well. It's still here. Got a date. Where's it gone? There it is. You'll see there that 1729, when they put this extension on, because the older building over here is the older pub, and there's an extension on the side. And on the very edge of the 1729, you can also see down here a Royal Ordnance Corps marker there. See there? That's a trig point. So now the army were here. And then if we look here, you can see the bricked-in doorway, which was the sweet shop. See the sweet shop doorway here? And there's a sweet shop and a post office here. And before it was a sweet shop, it was the baker's. And then the baker's also moved into selling beer. That's why we had a pub. But there's always been the baker's shop. So possibly the baker's up on the corner. They call it the old bakery, it's just a name. See up there's the back of it. We see the back of it, rather the front of it. And going to come up past Churchill House. Churchill House, interesting enough, is where Derek Sinclair Strange lived. Oh, you have to go. All right, well, have a safe journey, mate. Bye, Linda. Down to my last 4 visitors. This is where Derek Sinclair Strange lived. He was the man who invented the new hip. So if you have a hip replacement, it was down to him. He designed it while working at the Royal Sea Bathing Hospital in Margate. He was treating polio patients and tuberculosis patients, and he used the sea air to get them better. And he used to design hips and all sorts of joints. He was the one who came up with the idea of using titanium, because titanium is not rejected by the body. There's a lot of other things like iron and things would be. And he died in about 1990, I guess. He wrote a book called The Book of the Hip, which is still used by most hip surgeons this day, as to refer how to do the joint replacements. And when he lived here He was working at Canterbury Hospital as well as a surgeon, an orthopaedic surgeon he was. Very pretty house. I'm sure the owners would probably be annoyed. Hi Lee, you probably know all this already. We're going up the steep hill now. Imagine if you're in a horse and cart trying to make this hill. Horses probably could make this, but the newfangled motor vehicles that are coming couldn't make it, just too steep. And they just didn't have the energy. So they dug the road out. And that's why we think, or I think, that if there was a tunnel crossing the road, it would have been cut in two in 1887 when they dug the road out. The road out was dug by navigators from Liverpool and the northeast, Catholic Irish people called navvies. They dug all the canals and the railways, and they were losing work, so they started working on the roads. So cuttings and things always dug by hand by navigators. So we come up this way, across the road the other way, you see Claverings again, and you're going to make our way up to the church just to get a nice view over the valley. You can hear me out of breath, fat bastard. Oh. I got my mask on so I can barely breathe. Now the bench has been repainted recently. I came here last March to have a glass of beer with a friend. It's all been painted since. Whoever did it, well done to them. So they're going up here, up the church steps. Let me have a look from the top, back down. Ooh. Oh. 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 So there's the original church door, directly ahead of us, from the 11th century church. Oh. The other way around. Very nice view over the village. It's bloody cold to sunny. It's sunny, but cold. So go around the corner here. I always think of this one here. John Sankey, beautifully carved grave. It's spooky old skulls and crossbones. He might have been a sailor, but he was 85 when he died. Margaret Sankey. So, try our best to get these to work out. So, thanks Lee. I'm going to head back down there. When I walk down this path, I always think of Scottish shortbread. See those little dips in the ground? It reminds you of the fork marks at the top of shortbread. So I always call this shortbread steps. I'm the only person in the world to do that, because I'm a sad creature and I love shortbread. Although shortbread doesn't love me, I'm sure. Probably celiac or something. You come down here, you think to yourself, God, wouldn't mind coming down here in the winter. It's treacherous. For a long time it was closed because it was slippery. Then eventually we got someone to clear all the muck off it, and that's working fine again. So I come back down here towards my house, which is that one over there. You see the motorcycle putting out. That's a chap who lives down at Well Cottage. Teaches people how to ride. So that's been our little short walk around Harbledown. Sounds like they're coming to get me for not wearing a mask. But the house looks like it needs a bit of a paint, doesn't it? But still, proud to live here. And thank you for those people who took the time to watch. If you made a contribution, very kind of you. Hopefully you'll watch this again in the leisure of your own home, surrounded by a glass of wine. Just before we finish, here's the war memorial, and the names on these memorial here, from 14 to 19 clearly here, are all born within 1 mile of the memorial. That's something we have to remember of all war memorials. So make it more poignant. And usually up here there's even one tiny little flower sprouted from nowhere. There's one there, see? It's coming through. See? Right, so I'm going to go back to my own camera here. Is that where you were married 40 years ago, Lee? Oh, there you go. I'm here with my new mask on. God, I'm sweating like a pig. Sweating like a pig. So we're finishing our tour here now. Thank you so much for coming to watch with me. I know it's short notice. And to Lee and all my little friends who came to watch, may you enjoy this video, and hopefully we'll look back in future and say, how crazy were we? God bless you. Bye.